Good day, friends. President Trump has appointed his close confidant Sergi Crow as America's ambassador to India. In addition to being the ambassador, Crow will also be America's special envoy for South and Central Asian affairs. His second role will be far more important than his first role. I will discuss that in a while. Also, please keep in mind that Groh was born in Tashkent and hence over the years, he would have kept in touch with the developments going on in the region of his birth. Now, most Indian analysts they are very upset by this appointment, and rightly so because what Trump has done is exceptional. No American ambassador has ever been given this sort of an extended role. So the Indian analysts conclude that by doing this, Trump has downgraded America's ties with India, which is correct. And there are two reasons for that. One, in Trump's foreign policy, India simply does not have a strategic role. Second, Trump is personally upset with India, and that matters. Let me briefly touch upon both. So let's first talk about Trump's foreign policy, which is MAGA, Make America Great Again. I just want to touch upon three things which are relevant to my discussion. The first is, as part of MAGA, Trump wants to take the manufacturing back to America, and one of the ways of doing that, he believes, is the tariff route. The second is, he wants to be seen as a peacetime president, a president who ends the war, and a president who does not start new wars, because this is something he has promised to his voter base. And he's already claimed that he has ended 7 wars in the world, including the most important war, which is the India-Pakistan war, which he says if he had not brought about the ceasefire, it would have become a nuclear war. Now, if this is what he wants to do, then surely there is one lesson or one observation that he would have made from the ongoing Ukraine war. And that observation is that today in the multipolar world there are 3 great powers, and they are America, China and Russia. And a distinctive feature of a great power is that a great power is able to defend its sovereignty all by itself. All the other countries in the world, to defend their sovereignty in somewhere or the other, they are dependent on one or more great power. So the lesson for Trump would be that if he has to be a peacetime president, then he should know how to manage America's relations with these 2 great powers, which is Russia and China. And when we talk of managing the relationship, what it means is that he should have clarity on core concerns of these 2 great powers and what they are doing and for what purpose in different parts of the world. I'll talk on this subject a little more later. And the third element of MAGA relevant to my discussion is that he wants to have a security and a technology competition with China. But the security competition should be limited only to the Western Pacific, and here too, he is looking at strengthening the bilateral relationship with his allies. He is not interested in things like AUKUS and Quad. So when we look at all this, it becomes very clear that under Trump administration, India simply does not have a strategic role, something that it had under all his predecessors in their foreign policy. And that role was that India will be the military bulwark for America against China, with a specific role which is to be the net security provider, including for combat in the Indian Ocean region. Now Trump does not want that at all. So what that means is this entire foreign policy that External Affairs Minister Jay Shankar has crafted for India, specifically when he became the minister in 2019, that has come apart. Because that entire foreign policy was like putting all the eggs in the American basket, and it was simply predicated on this strategic role given by America, which simply has been taken away. Now, the other issue is, as I said, that he is personally upset. And this is no secret that more than 30 times Trump has said that he's the one who got the ceasefire in Operation Sindoor. He ended the war between India and Pakistan, a credit that India refuses to give to Trump. Now, Jay Shankar has spoken in various fora. He has said that yes, both sides officials, which is the Indian official and the American officials, they were in constant touch with one another during Operation Sindoor, but that does not mean, he says, that the Americans should assert mediation. They did not mediate, is his point. And then he also talks about, I cannot understand why these tariffs have been put. Now 50% tariff they will become. 2 days later, on 27th August, tariffs for buying Russian oil. The reason is very simple. The problem is not tariff. The problem is not India buying Russian oil. The problem, in simple words, is not giving the ceasefire credit to Trump. So the point to make is that over the next 3.5 years, India will have to now rethink its foreign policy because Trump will not give a strategic role to India. Now, what will then Grow do as India's ambassador in India? America's ambassador in India. Well, in addition to all the duties which are done by the ambassador, in my opinion, three things he'll be looking at. One, he'll be monitoring the progress of the 13th February 2025 joint statement where India has promised that the present bilateral trade, which is around $131 billion in the next 5 years, it will be enhanced to $500 billion, which is being called Mission 500. So he'll be monitoring this. Second, Grow will keep a very close eye on Operation Sindoor and all the activities going on in India associated with Operation Sindoor, because Sindoor has not ended. It has not resulted in a ceasefire. It has merely been paused by Prime Minister Modi, which means either side can lift the pause and the operation restarts. And third, obviously, he would be looking very closely to get the opinion at the highest levels of the Indian government on what they think about Pakistan, Indus Water Treaty, China, Afghanistan, Kashmir, and all these issues. But as I said, his role as the ambassador will not be that important. His critical role will be as the special envoy of America for South and Central Asian affairs. Now, here once again, the Indian diplomats say that what was the need to give this important role to Grow when already the State Department has a position called the Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs. Well, there are three reasons why this was given to Grow by Trump. One is that unlike the Assistant Secretary of State who reports to the Secretary of State, Grow will report directly to Trump. He has the President's ears. Second, Grow will be the man on the ground. He will know what is going on, and most important, in this present position, he will be free to travel to Pakistan, where the Trump administration has set out a strategic role for Pakistan. So the first question is, how did Trump come up with this very clever thinking? Where did it originate from? In my opinion, this thinking came from the lunch that President Trump had with the Pakistan Army Chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir, on the 18th of June in White House. Now, there we know that Trump publicly thanked Munir for ending the war, and Munir thanked Trump for bringing about the ceasefire, and Pakistan also nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. And there Trump would have asked Munir about his assessment of the air war that happened on the night of 7th-8th May as part of Operation Sindoor, and Munir would have told him that the Pakistan Air Force brought down 6 aircraft of the Indian Air Force. Since the Indian side did not comment on this at all, or it did in a very fuzzy way, then Trump would have concluded, after of course discussing with his own intelligence agencies, that after this 4-day Operation Sindoor, Pakistan military seemed to be a competitor of the Indian military. That's a very big thing. Now, he would have also asked Munir for his opinion on Iran, because after all, not only Pakistan has a contiguous border with Iran, the two countries also have very close ties with one another. As to what he thinks of Iran, what he thinks of Middle East, and there Munir would have given his assessment, and I believe that based on his assessment of Munir of Iran, see, all this happened on the 18th of June, and please remember, this is the time when the Israelis were trying very hard to get Trump in the war, to get the Americans in the war, a war that they started on the 13th of June. And Trump was resisting that. So he would have got the inputs from various sources, most important from Munir about Iran. And after that, now the reports tell us that it was like a fixed match. The bombing which was done by the Americans on the Iranian nuclear facilities was a fixed match, and the purpose was to end the war between Israel and Iran, making sure that Israel did not lose face, and Trump succeeded in that. So there are three reasons why Trump would have thought that Pakistan is important. One is that Pakistan once again has a contiguous border with Afghanistan, and it is best place to bring stability in Afghanistan, which is very important. Second, after the Americans left Afghanistan in August of 2021, Trump believes that America should have a foothold in the region, a foothold from where it can monitor Iran, the Middle East, Afghanistan, and the Central Asian republics. And what better place for a foothold than India to give the additional charge of America's ambassador in India, the additional charge which he has been given. And the third reason in my assessment is that Pakistan obviously is the best country to help America manage relations with China. Now, when I say manage relations, what this means is that the Pakistanis' assessment of what the Chinese are doing, what are their activities in Pakistan and elsewhere, and China would not have minded this at all. Why? I'll explain that in a while. So when we look at all that, it becomes very clear that the strategic role that Pakistan has now with America is in counter-terrorism, basically looking at Afghanistan and the Central Asian republics. Then it has a security role, which is through the Central Command. The Central Command of America and the Pakistan military, traditionally they've had very strong ties. Then the third is intelligence cooperation. This is absolutely important. Next is that to get a sense from the highest levels of the Pakistan military as to what they think about Middle East, about Iran, and the entire area that I am talking about, which is South and Central Asian republics. And that is possible because Pakistan is a well respected member of OIC, of SCO, and the Economic Cooperation Organization. And all these three are very important. And of course, as I said, to help America manage the relationship with China. And in addition to all this, the strategic role, obviously, whenever and frequently, I presume that Grove would be going to Pakistan, he would also want to know, because as I said, there is a pause in Operation Sindoor as to what exactly the Pakistanis think about large-scale terror attacks happening either in Kashmir or in Balochistan, what they think about the Kashmir issue, the dispute, and all the talk in India, both at the political level, high political level, as well as the military leadership level that goes on about taking back Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Then also they're thinking about the Indus Water Treaty, which India has now put in abeyance, and also building up the capabilities that India is doing. For example, the announcement by Prime Minister Modi about Sudarshan Chakra, which is the ballistic missile defense for the whole of India. So all this will be important for America, and this is why, in my assessment, now the Pakistanis have a strategic role with America, and as I said, China would not mind that. But first of all, let's see what China is doing separately with Pakistan. Now, three things are happening. As far as after Operation Sindoor, after the results of Operation Sindoor, where the world in general accepts that Pakistan military is a peer competitor of the Indian military. One is what is going on between Pakistan and China. In my assessment, the next level for China is to build Pakistan military to be the leading military power in the region. I've explained this separately in my video. Next, they would be looking at how to revive SAARC. SAARC, which India left in 2014 and whose headquarters is in Nepal. So this is something that they would be looking at. Next is with Pakistan, they have already announced they want to take the CPEC to the next level, and that will happen once the 5G rollout happens in Pakistan, and then things will move from automation to autonomy. So a lot is going on between Pakistan and China, and the Pakistan military leadership would have no hesitation in discussing all this with the Americans. Now the next is the trilateral relationship, which we saw during the recent trip of Wang Yi to Afghanistan, where he met up. The trilateral leadership is the Afghanistan, Pakistan and China, where the Chinese are looking at stability, bring stability in Afghanistan. They are looking at how to extend the CPEC from Pakistan into Afghanistan and then on to the Central Asian republics, and they are looking at investments in Afghanistan, and the response of the Afghan leadership seems to be favorable to this trilateral cooperation. And the next what we look at is the military cooperation that is building up between Pakistan and Bangladesh. Please remember that the Chinese exports after Pakistan, the second more exports are to Bangladesh. And now the relations between the two have become very cozy. Between Bangladesh and Pakistan, they are doing intelligence sharing, then there is military training going on, then there are naval exercises going on. The long and short is, I have done a video earlier where I have explained that China and Pakistan are looking at having a presence, a big presence in the Western Indian Ocean region, and this is where Bangladesh will also link up. So this is important. Now I come to my last point as to why China will not have any problems with Pakistan sharing all this with Trump, with the Americans. Because what Trump does not seem to realize, or the Americans per se, analysts don't seem to realize, is that when we talk of managing great power relationship, they are actually agreeing to something that Xi Jinping had proposed to America in 2012. You see, as Vice President, Xi Jinping had visited America in February 2012, and this is the first time he had proposed to President Obama what is called the new type of major power relationship, which the Americans had rejected because they were in favor of a G2. G2 and these two are entirely different. G2 is about whatever the Americans have done, because now China is a risen power, it can be a shareholder in what they have done. For example, the Bretton Woods reforms have happened, and all the institutions that the Americans have created, to which the Chinese said no. And they instead proposed this because they have, unlike America, which thinks in terms of geopolitics, they know their rise is based on geoeconomics. So as part of geoeconomic rise, when they talk of new type of major power relationship, it means that first of all, between the major powers, which is referring to the great powers, the three great powers. There should be equality, there should be mutual respect, there should be a clear understanding of each other's core concerns, which is something which which President Trump is already thinking about, and where the Chinese will be very happy that Pakistanis share this viewpoint with the Americans. And of course, the last one is that because the Americans think, and the G7 and the global North, they think, they always see security as a zero-sum game. Whereas, as far as the thinking of the Chinese is concerned, as I said, based on geoeconomics, it is about win-win. That means both the sides can win, we all can win together. So that stage has still not come, but this is a narrative for another time. So the point to make is that today what has happened is that after Operation Sindoor, not only Pakistan's geopolitical profile has gone up, it has a lot to gain also. The key thing here is that Pakistan today is sought by all the three great powers, which is America, China and Russia, and its foreign policy is actually anchored on global south. Because unlike the case of India, where its foreign policy was pivoted on a nation which is 12,000 kilometers away, in a multipolar world where there were three great powers, Pakistan's foreign policy is anchored on close ties with China. So it is anchored at the right place. Pakistan is a global south nation and it has anchored the foreign policy there. So I presume that this foreign policy is likely to be stable. Thank you so much.